Professor Nirmala Gopal of UKZN's Department of Criminology and Forensic Studies joins us for more on this story. Thank you so much for your time on the program, Prof. So in your analysis, just how serious is the current threat of crime to South Africa's economic and social stability, and what patterns perhaps have you found to be most alarming in recent years?
Good evening, Felicity, and good evening to your viewers. I think I want to start by saying the announcement by the minister is actually sounds very optimistic. In terms of the impact or the effect of crime on the socio-economic situation or context in South Africa, I think it's well known that crime in any country, especially when it spirals out of control or spirals upwardly, it has a negative impact, primarily because foreign investment or foreign investors are quite reluctant to invest in a country that's unstable, where the correlation between crime and stability is quite high. So in terms of that, it's sad that when we see this kind of the extent of crime in the country and its negative impact on the socio-economic development of the country. So in terms of patterns and trends, I think one of the greatest impactful trend is violent crimes in South Africa. And whether it relates to murder, sexual assault, GBH, violent crime is a huge issue for South Africa at this point in time.
And the South African Police Service leadership, Prof, has committed to strengthening manpower and improving officer morale. Just how effective are these types of internal reforms, if you may, in reducing crime rates? And would there be a direct linkage between officer morale as well as actual performance on the ground in crime prevention?
So of course, these interventions are hugely welcome. And I think given the history of low morale within SAPS, this is definitely an initiative that would be welcomed by all, particularly the SAPS personnel themselves. As I always say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And how effective it becomes depends on how it is implemented, how police officers themselves engage and experience this new intervention. But most importantly, I think, is to ensure that implementation is very well, closely monitored and evaluated.
And let's be honest, Prof, public confidence in SAPS is at an all-time low as we're having this conversation. Do you think these sorts of announcements will help rebuild trust, or there's a greater need for more systematic reforms? And, you know, many have said it starts with the competent boots on the ground, for instance. And what strategies could they use to train and retain competent officers, especially in so-called high-risk areas?
So I think in terms of how the communities actually experience or we build trust within communities is when communities start to feel safe. I think that's the first and most powerful indicator to understand whether community confidence in SAPS actually increases. Definitely more boots on the ground, I think, for especially the reasonable person, would suggest that they might feel safer, and I think that's an important initiative as well. So definitely, how do we make our communities feel safer is to start showing an impact on the decrease of crimes, especially the ones that communities experience on a daily basis. We see it going down.
And I'm going to put you on the spot now, Prof, and ask you, what would be your top 3 indicators that you'd monitor, say, over the next 6 to 12 months to assess whether these SAPS changes are truly working and are somewhat effective?
So the 3 indicators that I would look at, definitely to see that there's a decrease in violent crimes. The second indicator would be are we making more arrests, especially in those areas or those categories of crime that have a huge impact on the country. And we see a huge invisible decrease. I think that's technically what I would look at. And the third one, of course, is to make sure that the kind of service that we get from SAPS is closely monitored. And I think that kind of service is a huge indicator of whether we are more effective or not.
And a call has also been made that there must be conversations, and not just conversations, but honest conversations amongst the policymakers themselves as well, to, if they are really serious about tackling crime and all these issues in the long term, and these conversations must be open and honest in order for us to all reach a sustainable crime reduction in the country. What would those conversations be, and what would you be saying to those policymakers right now?
So I think, yeah, the honest conversations, it's your communities that those honest conversations must absolutely happen with. Because your communities are the ones who experience the crimes, the communities are the ones who decide whether they have confidence or not in SAPS. So absolutely those conversations must happen with the people with whom we actually police, and find out from communities how whether they feel safer within the current situation. And, one of the issues that we're still grappling with in South Africa as a democracy is finding out from our citizens, are you ready to be policed? And if you are ready to be policed, what kind of policing services would you actually appreciate and want to make you feel safer in South Africa?
And here's the thing, Prof, with all those communities, they're always facing challenges of their own. I mean, we've seen the community policing forums as well, saying that they don't have the resources to be effectively tackling crime. Perhaps what should be done on that front to ensure that even the people that raise their hands to say, look, we are willing to lend a hand in fighting crime, are at least able to be met halfway in their efforts?
Yeah, so I think, that's one of, we have some paradoxes, I think, in terms of community policing forums. On the one hand, we have forums that are extremely effective and efficient. And on the other hand, we get those who are very poorly run, especially. I think what's very important is that when we have those members who raise their hands and want to be part of making their community safer, it's just so critical that SAPS meets them halfway, trains them, makes sure that the way in which they actually facilitate the work and the mandate that they have, that it's closely monitored, the correct training is given to our community policing forum members, but most importantly, if there are resources needed, how can communities and SAPS come together to provide the necessary tools for an effective community policing forum?
Right. Professor Nirmala Gopal of UKZN's Department of Criminology and Forensic Studies, thanks very much indeed for your insights and time on the program.